All right, so yesterday I spent the afternoon text messaging one of my coworkers that I've never met before who moved from Arizona out to the Midwest for some reason. And halfway through the conversation, she stopped and she said, "I'm so tired of watching Coco Melon." And I don't know what that is, but I thought it was a funny thing for her to say. But while we talked, this particular title stood out in my brain because it's one that I read about last week, but I never had a chance to read the particular article. So rather than reading the article, I put the title into ChatGPT, and the title was Bad Bosses Are Pushing Gen Z and Millennials to the Brink. And throughout the entire conversation that we had, we talked about the executives, the management, and the regular workers, and she has insight into places that obviously I can't go to as part of the tech department. But my boss's boss has called him incompetent outside of the circles of the technology group, which I thought was really strange because that's not something you're going to hear inside of the group. It takes a person dealing with executives outside in the boardroom talking about this company to people who are very influential. And to hear my boss being put down by his boss really made me feel a lot better about the way that I've been getting treated in the workplace. Because I do feel like there is a certain animosity towards the regular employees of any corporation. It's not just enough to exploit them. You have to humiliate them, you have to degrade them, and you have to make them feel incompetent. And that's what this management does. It pushes you to the brink where I pulled my resume out. I started editing my resume on Saturday, and today I'm going to make a video about looking for work on Indeed because this is what you're up against, guys. These are the jobs, this is what you have, and this is the environment that we have to look for work. But before I do that, let's get into my 5 talking points that I got from ChatGPT on this topic. So I do all of my research in pretty much the same way. I pick a topic, I compare and contrast the topics, and then I ask for it to give me talking points because I don't want to read a script. I don't like it. I've tried it and it just doesn't feel natural to me. Besides, I've got plenty to say without needing to read a script. Besides, I make it more funny when I do my own talking points. All right, with that said, let's get into our first talking point topic: the impact of micromanagement on creativity and autonomy. So, micromanagement from bosses stifles employees' creativity, crushes confidence, and hinders innovation, ultimately sabotaging both individual and team success. I've never worked in a department that had so little team. Like, no one lives in the same state. And that means that whenever we meet virtually, it's just like people you're never going to talk to in real life. So there's no sense of team. In fact, we all work so separately, it feels like we're all on our own team. Like I manage my own school, and everyone else manages their own office spaces apart. The only time we come together is once a week in a meeting where everyone says the same thing: I'm busy, leave me alone. And ultimately, I do think that the downfall of this department is in that sense that there is no cohesiveness within the group. Everyone's too busy, everyone's frustrated, everyone doesn't like the management, everyone doesn't like the performance statistics that are required to keep your job, and it stifles the employee's ability to do anything. I feel like when you're being micromanaged, like I've been in the past few weeks, where everything I do, I feel like my boss is leaning over my shoulder and telling me that you don't do it like that. You draw your eyes with a dot on top and you circle it. That's how petty my workplace has gotten. And this woman that I was talking to yesterday, she was one of these situations where I created a purchasing order and I bought some stuff, some equipment, and then I was told it's not like that. And I'm like, just leave me alone. In fact, in that conversation, I just stopped speaking. I closed it and I pretended that the conversation didn't happen. I don't need this. And when I leave this corporation, it's going to be with that same fiery attitude. Because when you treat people like this, you're not encouraging them to stay. Not one single performance meeting that I've heard that's gone out with one of my coworkers has been an invitation to stay. It's been we're politely asking you to leave, but we have no ammunition to take you to HR and have you removed. Because the last time that they did this, there were three positions in another state in which they tried to fire the people that were in those technology jobs. And after they fired them for poor work performance, because of how low the wages are, how little Evil Corp wants to pay, after searching for 6 weeks to fill any one of those three positions, they couldn't find anyone to take those jobs at nearly the minimum wage. So the senior manager was asked by the executive team if they would call back each one of those people to take back their old jobs at minimum wage plus. All of them refused to take those jobs back. I don't know how many of them actually found other jobs, but they had moved on, and it was an embarrassing thing that is still a thing today, as those positions have not been filled. All right, talking point number two: resistance to change as a barrier to success, leading to a lack of competitiveness and growth within the organization. Growth within the organization, when you have departments with 150% turnover, when you have people who are constantly telling you that they're looking for other jobs. In fact, I think I've had half of the people that I work with come to me and say, "Hey, Millennial Stain, can we be friends after I quit working for this company?" And I don't know what to say to that because, again, I've never met any of these people in real life. And for the most part, everyone that you work with in technology is a grade A, you know what. And in fact, while I was talking to this woman, we were discussing the way that the executives feel about workers, and she said, every one of them can kiss my pink, you know what. And she was really like hyped up. Like when I was telling her about the seedy things that are going on behind closed doors in my area, she's just like, whoa, I can't believe that's happening. And I'm like, it's happening because they can't find anyone to work here, and therefore they need to do all of these, let's say, less than savory business practices that are going on. And she's a person that is in more on the education side, but at the same time, she does get to do things that she's not allowed to tell me about. Anyhow, as a lack of competitiveness, I think that they've tried to instill a more of a enemy, that you're enemies with each other. And I have had several people try to get me fired within my own department on many occasions. In fact, I hear the backbiting going on, saying this person said this about you and this person said this about you. And I just kind of like, you know what? If they want to do that, they're going to do it. And everyone in the department agrees. And whatever budget saving cuts they want to make, it's always going to start in the technology department because it has no value to any corporation. The only time it has value is when something's not working, and then suddenly you're looking at them as being incompetent. Talking point number three: the broader consequences of outdated leadership. I don't know how old my boss is, but I would say that his leadership is by far outdated. In fact, it was something that we talked about many times, is the incompetence of management, because they are so outdated. They think that they're still in the 1950s and that everyone wants to be in the office and that everyone actually wants to be at work. And that's one thing that it continues to come back into my head every single day, is that they're so out of touch because they make so much more money than you that they just assume that you're doing just as well financially as they are. And when you complain about not making any money, they just look at you like you're stupid. Like, if you can't handle your own money, then why are you working here? Go somewhere else. And it's that same mentality that seeps into everything that they say. It all comes down to, how loyal are you? Are we overpaying you? Are you not performing at work? Why don't you want to be in the office? That's a big part about today's technology group, is that we don't have to be in the office to do our jobs. But yet, they won't come into work. but they want all their employees to have to suffer the commute to get to work every day and then just sit there all day picking at your butt and scratching yourself and, you know, doing whatever you can at your desk to avoid work. And that's again something that management doesn't understand is how much work dodging we do. The whole work theater, it's real. And Gen Z is the first generation that's blatantly pointed it out that most of us come to work and do as little work as we can humanly get away with because that's what we do as humans. Unless the whip is at our back, we do as little as possible. And it demoralizes the employees, but also results in higher turnover, missed opportunities for innovation, and weakened overall business performance. Weakened overall business performance comes from a demoralized, underpaid staff. And that's what you have everywhere you go. Underpaying your staff and making them have a second or third job when they allegedly have a good job, it is something that I find despicable. When your boss tells you you're going to need another job because this job is never going to pay a living wage, that means that instead of looking forward to go home, when you get off from work, you're already thinking of driving for Uber or delivering for Amazon or God only knows what you're doing, maybe even flipping burgers at McDonald's. Whatever your poison second job is, you're going to do it. And your weekends are going to be spent driving for that extra bit of money that you need in order to cover your bills. You're not driving for extra money. And that's the one thing that I will say repeatedly in my videos. We're not working that second job to put money in our savings. We're not working that second job because we want to buy a nicer car. We're not working that second job so we have money to go out on dates in the free time we don't have. We're working that extra job because we need money for food and rent. If you're like me, your rent's gone up over 40% in the past 3 years. And that puts you in a situation where I'm making the same amount of money that I was making 3 years ago, but my rent's gone up 40%. Does management care about that? No. They simply don't care. And that means that you're left to your own devices. You can't feed yourself on what they pay you. You can't do anything. You're bored out of your mind and you have nothing to look forward to. But do they care? Absolutely not. Talking point number 4, advocating for more autonomy and modern approaches. I'm not exactly certain what that means, modern approaches. So let's read what it says. Suggesting increased autonomy and presenting data to demonstrate the benefits of modern work practices. This is something that they don't want. They do not want more autonomy. They want more micromanagement. And that's what I've noticed in my area. Despite being able to run my area, my department, my office area all by myself, they still have to show up and give you suggestions that don't make any sense or tell you to do this or that. And they simply want to continue to do the job the way that they learned to do it in the 1960s or 70s, when people couldn't telecommute to work, when people had to go sit in the office and vegetate for 8 hours or however long, because these people don't work 8 hours a day. The people above you are working 10, 12, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yesterday, when there was an emergency at the office and I got called by one of the teachers at 9 o'clock in the morning, my boss was sitting right there at his computer, like if it was a regular day at work. And these people are like that. They think that workers live to work, and that's their mentality. So showing any autonomy at work is is being a person who's not a team player. That's what it is. It's a person who wants to be on their own, isn't a person that's just going to follow leadership blindly while your boss is secretly sabotaging your success. That's what bosses do. That's what angry old men do. And they say stupid things to people whose work ethic they don't agree with. And it happens every single day. I've been called lazy and useless in the workplace so many times that I just had to stop listening. And when you have people that are constantly putting you down, constantly telling you something that's not real about yourself, it's an abusive relationship you have with work. They want to exploit you, they want you to feel bad, and they want you to quit. That's what I have gotten from every single place I've ever worked at. Is that management really does want you to quit. If they don't see you acting like they do, you're automatically an enemy of management. And once you become an enemy of management, just like I became an enemy of YouTube, they find ways of making certain that they use every trick in the book to sabotage you and make you miserable in the workplace. And they will go to whatever means that is, even if it causes them extra work to be able to watch you. I've had my boss listen to my conversations, read through my messages, read my email. You know how I know this? Because he quotes things that I say on the phone and my reads my communication with other employees. That's how I know. And he isn't being super stealthy about it. He's just like, you know what? I'm going to see how many ways I can find that he's not doing his job so that I can make certain that at his next review, he doesn't get a raise, which will then trigger him to quit. Because no one's going to work for this company for the same amount of money forever. Eventually, everyone's going to get tired of their cheapness with everything. And that's why employees leave. That's why you can't keep anyone. In my department, since I started working here, I think they've either quit or left over 75% of the department. And that means that the only people that are really left are the long term employees, the people who've been here for 10 years. And the rest of the young people that come in, they see what it is: no career path, dead end job, no pay raises, and a toxic work environment, and they leave. That's what you do. When you have opportunity, you leave. All right, my final talking point here is building a collaborative relationship with your boss. That's never going to happen with a person that doesn't want you working there. Partnership mentality, encouraging mutual respect, and promoting a more supportive work environment. These are all things that will never happen between Gen Z and their boomer or Gen X bosses. Because when they look at them and they see a person that isn't showing up to work in proper work attire, isn't willing to work extra for free, isn't there early every day, and doesn't want to work super hard even late into the afternoon. You know, my boss has gestured at me at how he thinks I need to be working and like manically working at my desk so that Evil Corp can generate more money from my work while I make less money. Because with inflation, you're always making less money. Your paycheck isn't what it says in those numbers. As I've always said, your paycheck is your buying power. That's what pay is. It doesn't matter how many zeros are after your pay are on your McPaycheck. If your McPaycheck means that you have to make three McPaychecks in order to have the basics of life, it's not real money. We're being paid in monopoly money every day. And when you get demoralized, they give you another Happy Meal toy and say, look, we're trying to help you. We're trying to make things better for you in the workplace. And I look at the Happy Meal toy and I just say, keep it, or I throw it away. Because it's not, to me, treating your workers like uh, adults, right? Children, adults, is beyond humiliating. When you're going to have funny hat day, or you're paying to wear a t-shirt to work day, or you're allowed to wear the t-shirt to work as long as you bought it from the company store. These are all things that have happened to me in the workplace where they make it as uncomfortable as humanly possible in the workplace. Because the whole dressing business at work, wearing collared shirts and pants and leather shoes, what's that for? Other than making you look the way that they want. And dressing up for work is about as pointless as anything else in the workplace. The workplace benefits you so little when it comes to your overall happiness of your life, because that's really what it comes down to. At the end of the week, when you leave to go home on Friday night, you spent all week in a place you hate so that you could have the resources you need to find some sort of small happiness in this world. And when you go home and all you are is stressed out about having to be back in the office on Monday morning, is it worth it? No. Do we have a choice? No. Could it be worse? Yes. That's the problem, is that work can always be worse. Like when I worked at Walmart stocking shelves or at the money center, I knew it was one of the worst places I'd ever find myself to generate a buck. When you're making $300 a week for as many hours as you could get, I mean, I think I was working on average 29 hours a week. 29 to 31 was all they let you, because anything more and you'd qualify for benefits. And God forbid anyone get benefits in the workplace, because we can't have that. We don't want people mooching off the system. In fact, as I've told you guys many times, I still see the hiring manager at the Kroger's that I used to work at, who boldly told me to my face, "Millennials team, why would I have two employees? Why would I have one employee that I have to pay benefits when I can have two employees that don't collect any benefits and save money?" That's the way they look at it. And again, it's not about taking care of you. It's about exploitation from the minute you start. The fact that at these low level jobs, you can qualify for food stamps and you can qualify for living assistance while you're working. For your employer to tell you that you're so poor that you qualify for food stamps is probably the highlight of my lowest jobs of my entire life. Is to know that this job was never meant for me to eat every day. This job was just meant for me to come, slave away for them, and then go home and be miserable. And that's what I can't stand about these bosses. That is that when they hire you, they know what it is. They know it's a plantation. They know that working there is never going to cause you to get ahead. And for a lot of the positions that aren't temporary or desperation jobs, any job can be turned into a desperation job. So what am I putting into toxic positivity today? Is there any point to going to work? You might say, well, if you don't work, then you'll become homeless and have nothing to eat. But if you're going to work every day and you're still broke and you're living in a roach infested studio apartment like I do, then you're getting very little benefit. But they'll tell you, eventually things will get better. And I'm here to tell you that they don't get better. It's the constant mindless chatter that they have to tell the proletariat all the time. It's like, just hang in there, things will get better. Sometimes they don't get better because the opportunities aren't there. Your dead end job is never going to get any better. The best job that you can get right now isn't going to make things better. You're going to have sadistic management everywhere you go, because that's the way they feel like they need to behave in the workplace. Because at the end of the day, they know that if productivity doesn't stay at a certain level, they don't have jobs either. And so they live in that constant fear too. They've got to crush their workers in order to keep their own jobs. And that's the only thing that motivates them to continually sabotage the success of their employees, is that they need to do this in order to keep their jobs, so that they can keep their houses and they can keep the paying for their kids' tuition in college, so they can keep driving that fancy car. That's what they have to do. That's their place in society as overlords for the executives and the ultra rich. The job creators create these positions in order to crush the proletariat, to just like making wine. The proletariat is the grapes, and the wine is the profit. And so you're going to crush those grapes all day long in order to get profits. You don't care what happens to the grapes. The grapes have no feelings, they have no homes, they have no faces. Remember, if you want to see a picture of the future, imagine a boot stomping on a human face forever. I think that's the quote from 1984. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.